Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that I am in the middle of I'm at the beginning, I should say, of a Deccan walk. Yes? And at the time of this filming, we have begun the third Deccan of Aries. And I've titled that series A Different Kind of Deccan Walk because my Deccans, the ones that I am following, I should say, I don't own them, but the ones I am following, are different from the ones that you're going to see in many other videos, which are focusing on Deccan walks, because the Deccans that I am focusing on are not the ones that were organized by the Order of the Golden Dawn, which is the order that produced the great figures such as Arthur Edward Waite and Aleister Crowley and Pamela Colman Smith and Lady Frida Harris and the Thoth tradition and the Smith-Waite tradition, which have permeated the entire globe. Yes? And for good reason, they are excellent traditions. However, I have, in my practice, decided to step back to thinkers before the Golden Dawn and ways of approaching tarot that are different from the Golden Dawn. Yes? And so, my Deccan walk is a little bit different. Again, we have just entered the third Deccan of Aries. Doesn't matter which Deccan walk you're working with, it's still the third Deccan of Aries. The associations are different, yes? So for me, the third Deccan of Aries was Jupiter, which is the ruler of Sagittarius, because for me, the third Deccan of Aries is keyed to Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, so we have Jupiter in Aries. I've got a whole video on that on my Deccan Walk playlist called A Different Kind of Deccan Walk. And if you're interested in that, go check it out. Now, we've still got quite a ways. We've got almost 10 days before the next Deccan begins. Actually, before Taurus season begins. And so, I'm here doing a video in my series that I called 2 Layers of Practice. Yes, and in this video, what I'm going to do is read the same spread 2 different ways. Yes, so we start off with an oracle card to get a general answer to the question I will ask every time I lay one of these spreads, which is, how can we live more intentionally in the coming week? And here we are in the third Deccan of Aries, and that was the question. So I pull an oracle card to give us the first general answer to that question. And then after reading that oracle card, I create another question. And then I lay a 3-card tarot spread to answer that question, which I derived from the oracle card. Yes? So we will read that spread 2 different ways. Once, the way I generally coach my mentees when I work with them with tarot. And then the second way is the more esoteric, the more astrologically based way of reading the same spread. So we get 2 different layers of responses to the same question. Now, if you are only interested in reading the cards at a base level, that is great. I'm no shade on that. That's the way I teach. That's the way I coach. And if that's enough for you, feel free to check out there. Yes? If you're not interested in that and you want to skip right ahead to the esoteric stuff, do that. I have a smorgasbord of information and ways of reading here for you. So, friends, you know what we're going to do. Let me begin by showing you the response. No, let me begin by saying thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for doing those things that you do, for hitting the thumbs up button. Yeah, for subscribing to the channel. You help other people find us and our community. My nose is still a little bit stuffed up from my allergies. Our community grows, and it has been growing for years because of you. Thank you. And thank you for those of you thank you to those of you who comment in the comment section. You are a blessing as well. Thank you. Okay, so friends, I'm sorry. Are you ready? Let me show you the oracle card that responds to the question, how can we live more intentionally in the coming week? And we'll start reading from there. Here it is. Friends, what do you think of that card? This is the first time I used this deck on this channel, and it's fairly new to my library. The name of the deck is called The Guides of the Hidden Realms. It's by Baron-Reid. She actually painted the paintings for this, and it's a gorgeous deck. And it's available. I'll have an Amazon link if you want to use them, but it's also available from Hay House. It's available from other online bookshops. So I recommend going to pick it up. I like it. I like it a lot. Funny thing, one of my friends, hello, you know who you are, calls this deck the Bitches. And I'm still trying to understand more clearly why she calls it that, but that's where it is. And the card that came out in response to my question, how can we live more intentionally in the coming week, was this card, yes? The full moon eclipse. Which, honestly, when that came out, I was a little bit startled because this is the image that's on the cover of the box. It's the image that's on the cover of the book. And I thought, oh my God, is this the title card? Did I forget to remove an extra card or something? So, no, this is actually the card. This is the card that's on all of the publicity. It's a beautiful card. What do we see? We see, basically it's a full moon, yeah, in purple. Beautiful eyes, full luscious lips. The third eye is all lit up with a star. So we get that idea of the sixth chakra for me. I don't know. How do you associate colors with chakras? For me, the indigo would be here in the third chakra, but some people might place violet there. I don't know. So what I do see is the third chakra being lit up, but the color is very violet, which makes me think crown chakra, but I know some people do white for crown chakra. Yeah, there are many different associations. And above the head, you can see some keywords, right? We have removing internal obstacles, we have confronting self-identity, and intensity as the keywords to our answer. How can we live more intentionally in the coming week? Yeah, we want to clear away our inner obstacles and face who we really are and who we are showing up as in the world. And we want to recognize that there is an intensity here. And that intensity can be energizing, which is great for Aries, right? Energizing, and give us the strength to perhaps do this work. Now, if we look at the guidebook for this card, yeah, we have the ideas of, or suggestions, to release all that is no longer serving us. Yeah, releasing all that is not serving us, to me, actually sounds a little bit cliche at this point. But it still points to something that we can actively do, yeah? Look at what we are participating in. Where is our energy going that is not beneficial to either us or the other people involved in whatever that is, whether it's family, whether it's friends, it's the people in our workplace, in the larger society. And remember, here we are in the third decan of Aries, which again for me is keyed to Sagittarius. So there's a broader community that we are including in our Aries attributes. We're pointing more towards more philosophical, more social, more educational potentialities. I hate that word. Potentials for ourselves. Yeah? So where is the energy that we are using and engaging and implementing going to things that are not helpful? Fighting battles that are either not our battles or things that are draining us more than firing us up and feeding us. Does that make sense? Have you ever felt that? Have you felt when you've engaged in some kind of social work? Have you ever engaged in any social work? Well, have you engaged in social work of some kind? And it could be a protest. It could be engaging with government bodies. It could be working for the rights of others, helping others, doing volunteer work. Have you done that and felt energized by doing that? That's great. That's wonderful. Have you done things in that realm in other times and felt drained and felt like your energy was being used to no good purpose or no beneficial purpose? So that's the aspect that we want to pay attention to. Where is our energy going that is draining us more than reinvigorating us? We might want to look at where we have repressed wounds that are sabotaging us. And those wounds can overshadow all the good that we are working for. And in this third decan of Aries, we might have the desire to work for the greater good. So it's time to face the dark. And that darkness, we benefit more from looking at the darkness within than trying to find the darkness outside of us. Remembering that the darkness we do find outside of us is a reflection of the darkness within. Yes? So, where are we leaking our energies? Where are we giving our energy away to other people and their dramas? And that could be an important question to be asking for someone who is very emotionally or energetically sensitive. Yeah, the deep empaths and the deeply compassionate ones among us, we might be giving our energy away, feeding the dramas of other people around us instead of doing the work to benefit their evolution. Yes? Sometimes we need to allow them to hit bottom, for one thing. Yes? We don't want to take away the bottom of some people who are falling, because if we catch them too early and we end up being, what do we call it? For example, someone who's an alcoholic, we might want to catch them before they get into too much trouble, and we become facilitators of their alcoholism because we go around cleaning up after them and cleaning up around them because we don't want them to hit bottom. Sometimes people need to hit bottom. But are we feeding our energy into their dramas when what they need to do is have their dramas collapse? Is that understandable? So where are we leaking our energy instead of directing our energy? Are we blaming, shaming, or judging others or ourselves? Because even if we're encountering somebody with an addictive habit, for example, we can approach that person with blame and shame and judgment, or we can approach that person with love and love them through their process. We can do the same thing to ourselves. We can blame and shame and judge ourselves, breaking down our energy structures, or we can love ourselves through whatever we are living. And at this time, we want to recognize that our emotions can be triggered, which is not surprising considering what's happening in the world right now. So we want to be careful of allowing ourselves to be triggered. We want to not place our goat in our front lawn so that our goat can be gotten. Yes? We want to notice the obstacles that we are placing in our own path. We want to let go of attachments to form as well. Yeah? What form do we think success should look like? We want to let go of that form because there's something better out there for us if we allow ourselves to be guided by the divine, by our eternal natures, by spirit, the indwelling spirit that we are. So instead of being attached to the form of the outcome, we want to follow our joy, our passion, our love, our excitement, our hope, our interest, even our satisfaction, and see where that leads us. That will keep us in a place where we can re-energize ourselves. Does that make sense? Because remember, our outer world is a reflection of what we are and who we are being in the world. So if we don't like what we see, and that's all we see is what we don't like, that could be telling us something. Now, I'm not saying that an individuated person would not notice that there is a war raging somewhere in the Middle East, right? But there might be a different way of managing, of interacting with that information. Yes? What could that be? We recognize that there is a war, that we hope will end quickly. But we can also understand that, yes, humanity is as it is, and it is going to war without making humanity wrong. The actions of humanity at times are very wrong, yes. We don't have to whitewash everything and everything is beautiful, everything's wonderful, everything's perfect. We don't want to joy wash everything, but we don't need to criticize everything. We don't need to blame everyone for who they are. We can say, yes, this action is wrong. That doesn't pull my energy away from me. We can stand up and say, yes, this is wrong. That doesn't pull my energy away from me. What pulls my energy away from me is, why is everybody always doing this? What's wrong with them? Why can't they be different? That's what pulls our energy away from us, generally. Don't you notice that for yourself? So, We want to recognize that the blame and shame that we are casting out in the world are a reflection of the blame and shame and judgment within ourselves. So, the intensity that is here with the full moon eclipse, we have the choice to make use of that intensity in a different way. Yes, we can make use of the moment and know it's temporary. Let the things that we point at as wrong and evil go emotionally, so that we can stand up and use the energy to be who we truly are in the world, which is a loving, caring, well, aware being in this physical universe. But to be able to do that, we need to do the internal work. Yes? And when we think of this card up here with the third eye gleaming, yes, the clear spiritual vision, and being able to attain that, being able to look in the dark where this face is gleaming, I think that is our aspirational self for this coming week. And what is a full moon eclipse? There's another name for that. It's called a lunar eclipse. Yes, all lunar eclipses are necessarily a full moon. And that is the time when the earth gets between the moon and the sun. Right? So the sun and the moon, the moon are always in a relationship as the moon goes around the earth, which is why we have these cycles, right? And there are times when the earth moves in between the moon and the sun. And then we get this beautiful, I've seen it as a reddish orange in the sky, moon. Spiritually, this points to qualities such as emotional climax and release. So this would be a good time for us to do that, even if there probably is not a full moon eclipse or a lunar eclipse in the sky right now. The way for us to live more intentionally is to recognize that we could be having some emotional climaxes, and it's time for a release, right? Releasing emotional burdens, releasing past patterns and past situations, to free ourselves of the burden of carrying those things. Yes? It's a time of illuminating the hidden. So, that's part of doing the inner work, yes? It's a time for meditation, like my meditation hands, meditation and introspection. It's a time to reflect on our personal transformation, rather than acting out in frantic energy to try and fix and change the world. Yeah? Do the work to fix ourselves before we act in the world. And it's a time for clearing and releasing, yes? Maybe it would be a good time to write down what you wish, to let it go to the universe. And following the path of joy and love with belief and trust that that path is going to move you in the direction of what you truly want. Yes? Maybe take a ritual bath. This would be a good time for a ritual bath too, if you do those things. So, that's what will let us live more intentionally in the coming week. And so, I looked at this card, and I looked at all of that information, and I got a question. And the question was, where are we giving our power away? Because that seemed to be a really strong component. We can look within and see where the blockages are, what things are we carrying that we probably would benefit from letting go. But we also notice that our energy is going out into the world sometimes to no purpose. So, in what directions should we look to discern where our energy might be going to no purpose? So where are we giving our power away instead of implementing and using our power? That question makes sense, I hope. So, let me show you the 3 cards that came in response to that question. Here they are. This deck is called Tarot del Fuego. And it was a deck that was recommended to me by the wonderful Christine Payne-Towler, who is the creator of the Tarot of the Holy Light, which I highly recommend. She's got her shop has been created on the web, and I highly recommend going to find that deck if you're interested in getting another perspective from the Golden Dawn in esoteric associations. But don't worry, we're not there yet. We're not into the esoterica yet. This deck. So I'll have in the description box, I'll have a link to the Amazon page for the Oracle deck. Yeah, the bitches, the Guides of the Hidden Realms. And I'll have a link for this deck, Tarot del Fuego. It's still available. It's a mass market deck. This is the first time I've used this deck as well on this channel because, frankly, while I love it and it's very powerful, it's also a little bit of a difficult read for me. So, be prepared for that. But I'll have a link in the description box below for you that. And I'll also have a link to the newly organized online shop for Christine Payne-Towler's work. Okay? So friends, these 3 cards. When they came out, when the first card came out, I almost lost it. Yeah? Because if you know me, you know my moniker is the Hanged Man in the Moon. Yes? And so when I asked the question, where am I giving my power away? Where are we giving our power away? And the Hanged Man came out, I thought, oh my God, what the heck? So, that fortunately was not the only card. We got from left to right, the Hanged Man, the Sun, and the Knave of Swords. In this deck, it's the Knave, which would be the Page in most other decks. So we've got 2 Major Arcana cards and 1 Swords card, right? 1 Air card, element of air. So there's a really strong presence of the Major Arcana and a little bit of thinking, which is fairly appropriate, I think, because of the questions that we were asking. Yeah, they were looking at emotional aspects, but I think we're looking at those emotional aspects from a somewhat airy, mental, communicative perspective. Does that make sense? So, these cards, complex cards. The entire deck is complex, and it's, like I said, for me, difficult to read. But let's start off with so 3 cards. I did not do a positional spread. Just 1 question, 3 cards responding it. So, the first question to myself, I ask, and that when I coach others, this is the first thing we want to look at, is first look at what's on the table as far as element. Yes? So, 1 strong element was air, and it's off there on the right. So, it's not a really strong indication of direction to me for reading. I want to find a direction for reading these 3 cards. Am I going to read left to right? Possible. Right to left? Okay, for you, am I going to read, oh, right, left to right or right to left? Am I going to read the two cards moving towards the center? Am I going to read the center card moving out to the sides, like branching out? How am I going to read these cards? Because we don't have a strong elemental progression, that's not a big help. In this deck, a lot of the people are facing forward, so we don't get a lot of line of gaze is what I call it. Yes, line of gaze, the direction people are looking in. Not a line of homosexual males, right? The direction people are looking in. We don't really get that. Everybody seems to mostly be looking straight out at us in this deck. So, does number help? Sometimes number can help. 12 for the Hanged Man, we've got 19, 12, 19, and then the Knave would be 11. That doesn't really help me for direction. So I was a little bit at a loss. I thought, well, I guess I'll just read left to right. That's probably, and then it hit me. Something interesting hit me with these three cards. Yeah? The Hanged Man, different from almost every other deck that I have in my library, this Hanged Man has a bag over his head. And I'm assuming it's a he. It kind of looks like a he face, especially on his chest. But there's a bag over the head of the Hanged Man. Yes, there's a face in the chest, but the head has a bag. And then if we look at the Knave or Page of Swords, we can see that that page or knave also has a blindfold on. So I see these two beings with their eyes covered. And then if we look at the Sun card in the center, there's no one with their eyes covered in that one. So what I see here is these two cards on the side are somehow communicating with the center card. And when we ask, where are we giving our power away? Maybe these two cards on the sides are the power going away, and they're informing maybe a solution to that. Does that make sense? And so we can begin with the Hanged Man. Again, the card that I identify with, and we see the guy hanging upside down. He's got the general posture of a Hanged Man in most other decks, right? Except we do see one foot is red and one foot is black, which is interesting. Yes. We have the Negredo and the red and the black. In alchemy, there's the black is the putrefaction. The red is I think the end goal. No, the end is the fire. Oh gosh. I should have looked this up before I started this, because honestly, I just noticed that really clearly right now. The alchemical connection suddenly hit me, which it had not hit me before. So I could have looked that up, but if you know, let me know in the comments below. It's slipping my mind right now. But we also have grapes up there at the top. Right? So this tree that he's hanging on is bearing fruit, which is good. So the power that maybe we're giving away is not entirely a wash. We are perhaps getting something back from it. I love, do you see the bat hanging upside down in the upper right-hand corner? It's kind of fun. And it looks like in the upper left-hand corner there's a dove flying up into the sky, maybe with the kind of like a rocket. You see the fire coming out of its wings, yeah? So it's shooting up into the sky, but the bat is hanging upside down, and the bat has rain and storm and water coming down. So there's a powerful sadness there, maybe. or a washing away, but it's very energetic down into the earth. Whereas the dove is very energetic going up into the sky. So there's that balance there, right? On the two sides of the Hanged Man, there are two other doves which are two-headed. Yes? Two-headed doves. One of them with a heart of love and one of them with a heart of flame. So there's one side of energy coming down. It's uncomfortable, maybe it's stormy, and there's one side of energy going up, and it's loving and it's powerful. There's a balance there between that where the Hanged Man is hanging in between, but still his face is covered. Yeah? So, and he's hanging between two mountains, which are also interesting, but while he does have a face in his chest with 4 eyes, yes, a lot of the creatures in this deck have more than 2 eyes. Yeah, so that's not a surprising thing to see in this deck. But again, his head is covered. So his rational thought is blocked. We're giving our energy away on one side, I think, to being in the middle of two divergent directions of energy. And we're covering up our heads. And that covering up our heads is one side of what our energy being lost. So our mental energy is being lost. There's some fruit being produced, but still, the new perspective that we often hope for and expect from the Hanged Man, because of the question, where is our energy lost, I think that card is pointing towards we're putting our heads in the sand, sticking our heads in a bag. Yeah? Instead of seeing clearly. Does that make sense? So on one side we have that hiding our head in the sand, not looking really, because there's maybe so much happening around us. And that's one way of giving our energy away, in that hiding, instead of allowing ourselves the full perspective. Maybe because it's scary. Because there's so much energy. But if we look, there's not only war, there is an abundance of love here too. Yes? And then on the other side of the Sun card, we have the Knave of Swords. And in this Knave card, we have the blindfold there again, not really seeing or preventing themselves from seeing, herself from seeing. We see that she does have a crown of flowers. So again, there's some growth, there's some beauty here, and she is crowned, but she also has on one side the tears coming down and one side the lightning coming down, right? So maybe she's focused more on internally the battle that is raging outside, but she's focusing on it on the inside, right? Her eyes are covered. This youthful page, which we expect to have the sword out and asking questions all the time, has covered her eyes. And she is speaking daggers. Now you see the dagger coming out of her mouth, right? Piercing the world. She's piercing the world with her daggers of speech and communication, but her eyes are covered. They're blindfolded. She's not seeing. She's not letting herself see. And so where is she losing energy? She's losing energy through this internal emotional reaction and then it coming out in daggers from her mouth. trying to crack open the earth. Does that make sense? And everyone seems, you see the eyes beneath, yes? Everyone seems to be looking at her. What's going on up there? But she can't see that because, of course, her eyes are covered, yes? Another way for us to be, our power to be leaking or rushing out for not good effect. And so in the center, we have blossoming in the center, the sun card. Yeah? And we see that there's the tree from the hanged man growing from the back of the being, the beast, the animal with two heads, right? There in the center. Eyes, all 6 and 6 is 12, right? All 12 eyes gazing out forward. No blindfolds here. We see on the head of one of the beasts, there's the flame, maybe of the masculine. On the head of the other one of the beasts, there's the feather, maybe the feminine side of us. Yeah, they are there. They are looking in the same direction. They are seeing. They are growing. They're standing there in front of, do you see the city behind them? Yeah, the city does seem to be in flame. It does maybe see like there's it almost does seem like there are bombs dropping on that city in the background, but they are standing there. Their eyes are clear. They are open. They are balanced. And the divine hand in the sun is there with another eye clearly looking forward, radiating power of both the yods, the yods at the tip of the hands, creating, yes. So I think this spread is telling us to take the blindfolds off and look and see that there is much more than the antagonistic warfare that's happening in the world. Stop speaking daggers into the physical reality and open our eyes and our minds to see that there is so much more that's happening, and allow that beauty, the growth, the grapes, the flowers, the tree growing, the divine energy to feed us. So we see and recognize and connect with the love that is here in the midst of and holding the pain of the war. Whether that war is actually with guns and fighting, or the war is a verbal war with other people in the political sphere, wherever that war is, be it literal or metaphorical, we can hold, the divine is holding that war in love. Just like we would hold a raging baby with love. Yes? Because what are we but raging babies? Yes? And so we could be the mature, gender balanced beings, seeing clearly, being abundant, and being what? Fertile. Absorbing the energy of the non-physical, the divine, the love and the joy and the well-being and the awareness of the universe, absorbing that wonderful energy so that we can be the best version of ourselves in the world. Does that make sense? That's how I would read these cards. I know I did say the word yod, and I hope that didn't freak you out. That's how I would read these cards in a look at the pictures, know what I know about the cards, that rational, clear vision of the sun, right? The hanged man, the new perspective, but it's blocked here, right? The knave, questions, but the questions, the eyes are blocked, and so those questions become daggers. right? That layer of visual image and what we basically know about the cards. Now, friends, are you ready? I'm going to go back into this spread and we will look at it in a more esoteric way. So, friends, let me show you the spread once more so you get a clear vision of what we're seeing, and we'll talk. Here it is. Okay, friends, that insertion of the spread also serves the purpose for us of a visual marker of the beginning of the last part of this video. So, it serves a purpose. We're going to read this spread again in a more esoteric way, and the esoteric way that I am looking at these cards is described in my playlist series called Walking the Lines of Origins to Deeper Strata. And I'll put a card up here if you want to check that out, just in case you haven't seen any of that and you're wondering, why is he saying that this card means that when I know it means something else from the Golden Dawn? Yes? So, if you want to know, go look at that series. It will be very helpful. Now, when I look at these cards esoterically, I do the same thing, right? I will also look to see what the relationships are with the cards are to each other, and that will help inform the direction I'm going to read these cards. Yeah, am I going to, again, go left to right, right to left, two to the center, center going out? Are they going to be unrelated? I don't know. So, for me, the Hanged Man is associated with Libra, and we'll get into why that is later, but so that's Libra, which is cardinal air's vital attributes entering our spread, and Libra is ruled by Venus, so we've got Venus, Libra, cardinal air. The sun, for me, is Pisces, which is a water sign. Yes, water, you might, okay, but yes, let's go with it. I'll tell you why later. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, so we have mutable water's vital attributes entering the spread through the sun. And then the knave, for me, is associated with cardinal air. Now, for me, all the pages now are cardinal. And I talked about that when I talked about the cork cards in my series, Walking the Lines of Origins to Deeper Strata. Yeah, so for me, the knave is cardinal air, which again reflects the Hanged Man. And that kind of makes sense, right? The different perspective, the Page of Swords, asking questions, looking at things differently. Why is this? Why is that? The Hanged Man is also doing some of that work, him, her, themselves, right? So, with the Knave of Swords, which is on the left for you, is keyed to Libra, which is ruled by Venus, but we also have Mercury, because I also see a mercurial quality streaming through all of the pages. So the pages are all cardinal, and they're all influenced by Mercury, for me. So we have on the ends of the spreads, right and left ends, we have cardinal air. In the center, we have mutable water. So I read the spread the same way. Yeah, the two cards on the side are feeding into the mutable quality of water in the center with the sun. And so, let's start with the Hanged Man once again. Yes, the Hanged Man for me is associated with Lamed. The 12th Hebrew letter is Lamed, which is, it kind of looks like a bent, well, I'm not sure what to call it. It looks like, well, for you it would look like this, yes? And it's the letter of the ox goad, a stick that you use to move your oxen forward. It's also a teaching staff, and it's also the action of teaching and learning. Yes? There are aspirations that are associated with the Hebrew letter lamed, and the heart striving upward, which is beautiful, I think. Because it's the Hebrew letter, lamed, and I'm debating whether or not I want to put a tree of life up here. It might be here and it might not be. But the Hebrew, it's probably got to be there. Okay, so it's not really super helpful, but I think I should probably show you. So lamed is on the path between Hod and Yesod. Hod and Yesod. So it connects. I call Hod surrender. Some people call it something else. Some people call it so Netzach is victory. Some people call Hod I don't remember, something else. But to me, Hod is surrender. Yeah? So Netzach, you see a problem and you conquer it. You are victorious over it. In Hod, you see a problem and you open yourself to it. Instead of fighting with it and conquering it, you open yourself to what is, and you find your path through, around, over, under, as water would. Yes? So, it connects that surrender to what is to the foundation of Yesod, which is the penultimate step before the manifestation of kingdom in Malkut. So, the Hanged Man is here surrendering to what is and connected to the base, the root, the foundation of who we are, becoming. Before pre-manifestation, yes? Now, it's also connected to the rune, Elder Futhark rune, Zera, which looks like two greater and less than symbols, like this. Similar to this, I'm not sure if the direction is correct for you, but similar to this. And Zera is the rune for harvest. It's the rune for rewards. The harvest, the reward, that makes sense. For harmony also, which makes sense for Libra. And also abundance and cycles of life. Now the yearly cycle, the cycle of planting and harvest, yeah? So how does that inform the Hanged Man? Well, the Hanged Man, cardinal air, between surrender and foundation, about teaching perhaps, about our aspirations and striving upward, our hearts striving upwards, perhaps towards the divine, which is upwards, although I don't really think the divine is up or down or left or right, but still, we have that somatic response to thinking of approaching the divine, right? In addition to rewards and harmonizing with people. So, the Hanged Man is also God's perfect justice, which means that there is an eternal moral law, and all manifest beings are unable to live up to that divine standard, which is okay by God's point of view because we're not supposed to be able to, right? It's like expecting a 2-year-old baby to come out with a diploma from a graduate school. You know, you can't expect that, right? So the divine doesn't expect that we're going to be able to match the aspirational divine standards of divine law, but we want to recognize that we are not that, right? Our eternal natures are that, but we here hopefully enjoying our physical human lives in these physical human bodies that we are co-creating, we want to recognize that here in these bodies, we're not able to live up to that standard. Yes? That our deeds, however good they are just not as good as they are from the non-physical life that we are. From that perspective. And there's a need for divine grace. Or a means of atonement for the things that we have done that have not been up to the standards that we can attain. And no matter how good you are, even the Buddha, even Christ, had moments of not living up to their highest potential while they were still in physical form. Yes? So, recognizing our need for atonement, for divine grace, helps to balance those scales of the Libra hanged man. And we pursue equilibrium between spiritual and physical form. Yes, we are physical beings, we're spiritual beings. We're physical beings, we're spiritual beings. And we want to have a good balance there. And the hanged man is here turning him, her, themselves upside down in order to try to see, perhaps perceive that balance. And to connect the material with the higher realm. But we also recognize that we fall down on the job. And it's in that falling down on the job that I think on one hand, we are losing our energy. Yes, we have the aspiration of attainment of balance and connection with the divine and the physical, and opening ourselves to the divine grace, the grace of the cosmic mind, the universal creative being, whatever you want to name that. But there are times when we're not able to do that, and that drains our energy, that saps our energy from us. Yes? And then on the Knave of Swords, or the Page of Swords side, with, again, Venus in Libra, and cardinal errors, vital attributes entering our spread yet again on this side. We also have the flavor of Mercury entering our spread here as well. The quick, the curious, the trickster, the communicative messenger enters Libra, who wants to balance and wants to communicate and wants to be in harmony with everybody else. And sometimes that need to be in harmony with everybody else is also a drain on us in the hanged man as well. Right? So the knave is all about diplomatic speech. Yeah? Smoothing tensions. Everything's okay. Social charm with people overall. Logic influenced by beauty and poetry, all beautiful things. Fairness and balance in relationship. But maybe we're giving our energy too much into making sure everything's okay, making sure there are no ripples in the fabric of our relationships, making sure nobody is irritated, nobody is off balance, making sure everybody is okay. We're okay. We're okay. That could be a sap of our energy 100%, right? So that's on the other side. It's in our interpersonal relationships. Trying to charm people over. Instead of being our most authentic selves, we're trying to charm people, smoothing things out. Everything's, come on, let's all get along. What can I do to make you happy so that we can get along? Yes? And in the center, shining forth like the sun, is the sun card. And again, for me, the sun is keyed to Pisces. Why? Because the sun is associated with the Hebrew letter Kof, which is the 19th letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And Kof looks like a letter P. And it's associated with, or it is the symbolic form of the monkey, or the back of the head. But especially the monkey, mimicking human traits. Thinking of the monkey pretending to be a human. Think of that as Kof. Yeah? Also, us mimicking the divine could be Kof as well. It's holiness versus the imitation of holiness in Kof. It's the line between the sacred and the profane, and when we say profane here, we don't mean like pornography, although that's included. It's the sacred versus the mundane material world, profane, yes, as opposed to the high and holy. Being the letter Kof, it sits on the path, and it should be up here, between Binah and Chesed. Binah and Chesed, which means it's between understanding and loving kindness. Yeah? The understanding. Understanding is where Binah receives the wisdom of Chokmah, which is undifferentiated wisdom. It receives that and starts to, comes into a hall of mirrors, or a sphere of mirrors, and it starts to become all of the colors of the universe, yes? It starts to differentiate into wisdom. Bright, radiant, spectral wisdom. So the sun connects that to our loving kindness, which I think is a pretty good indicator of how to ameliorate the difficulties of our energy going out into the world in unhelpful ways. Right? By connecting our wisdom with loving kindness of those around us, including those who we think are perhaps our enemies. Politically, socially. Not directly. No, I'm not saying I'm not suggesting if you're not ready to do this, that you have to go out and embrace the person who has physically harmed you. I'm not saying that. But in the larger, more psychosocial, political sphere, generally, we want to move in the direction of being able to hold all those people we disagree with in whatever degree there is of disagreement in our loving kindness. And if we can do that, that energy which is sapping out of us will return. Now, we also have the rune from the Elder Futhark that is associated with this card. The 19th rune is Ehwaz, which kind of looks like an M. And it is associated with the horse, and riding of horses, and also progress, but also loyalty, yeah, harmony, cooperation, partnership, which is different from the needing to make sure everything's okay and that the sapping quality of the Knave of Swords, but rather being loyal to those and recognizing that everything that we are doing is a co-creation and that we can find some harmony in our lives if we recognize the partnership that we have here in this physical world, universe, sphere. Yes? So, the Sun card being Kof points towards, and in Pisces, fruitfulness. Yeah, the fruitfulness and multiplication of, for example, multiplication of fishes. Yeah, the multiplication, the multiplicity, the fruitfulness of what the people in ancient times saw the sea as being. Yes, a bounty of food that you can go out and just get instead of having to plant things and wait for them to grow. Right? Also, we have the hidden life with the sun. And you might be thinking, what are you talking about? The hidden life, the sun, it's a rational thought. But there is the rationality, but there's also the hidden life within that the sun illuminates. Right? It's the eternal life, the internal life of faith. It's the subconscious and the mysterious ways in which God works in the world in connection to... Now, this is a Hebrew word that I'm going to be butchering right before your eyes. The Olam Haba. The Olam Haba, which is the world to come. So, it's the divine action which works in the world in connection with the world to come. The time of the Messiah, the time of the resurrection, the time of the lifting up from the evils of world, and the divination, the making divine of the existence here on the planet, the world to come, the Olam Haba. Sorry. Okay, so but it is that, right? And it also points to the month of Adar, which is the month of Purim, which is the happiest month of the Jewish calendar, right? And it's points towards the hidden... I'm sorry, what am I trying to say? It's the points towards God's hand, which was hidden but present when not especially revealed. Right? It's the divine hand working in the world without our really noticing it. And God's bringing forth God's providence, yes? The hidden light of God's providence is here in the sun as well. So it's within this unrecognized part of our reality, there is God's God's providence, which is a light ready to burst forth. And there's an ability to balance, again, the spiritual and the material realms. Here, the ability to do that. The Hanged Man wants that, craves that, but in the sun, we can do that. We can balance harmoniously the physical and the spiritual realms, and recognize the light of the divine shining forth from within what we consider to be the darkness, or the hidden places, the places where our attention has not been able to reach. And that there is an abundance of everything in the universe, if we allow it to be recognized by ourselves. And that will help us to regain our energy. And notice that energy was never really gone, maybe. It's just we haven't been able to allow ourselves to tap into the limitless source of energy, which is the divine within us. Because we're so focused on what's going on out there. Does that make sense? And so to be able to recognize that hidden divine hand, that hidden light of God's providence, of the divine providence, we want to pay attention to what obstacles are we putting in our own way, which are blocking our perception of the power that is available to us. And our ability to connect our physical selves with our eternal natures and with and then by extension with the collective eternal nature and by extension the divine unity of all. Does that make sense? And that's interesting, I think, at this end of the Aries season with Sagittarius and that philosopher nature, the philosophical, joyful, playful, but philosophical nature of the progressive Sagittarius. Keyed to this decan of Aries. Yes? Does any of that resonate with you or make sense to you? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below if it does. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I can help figure out a way to explain things or to speak, to speech, to do the talking better for you. Okay, friends, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here through this journey. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.